The first time I saw him walking into the recovery room, I nearly ripped my stitches open just from clenching my jaw. Of all people, it had to be him, the guy who used to sneer at me on the field, who once tripped me hard enough during practice that I swore I'd never forgive him. And now he was the one kneeling in front of me, adjusting the brace on my knee like he gave a damn. The irony was so sharp it almost made me laugh, except the pain in my leg kept me grounded in the reality I couldn't escape. I needed him. His name was Evan Cole, star midfielder. Fast, brutal, arrogant. My shadow and my rival for 3 years straight in college soccer. If I scored, he scored harder. If I pushed, he pushed further. Every game felt like a war between us, even when we were supposed to be on the same side. But 2 months ago, during the biggest match of the season, my knee gave out with a snap that echoed louder in my head than the cheers of the crowd. My world collapsed in a single brutal twist of muscle and bone. Since then, the field had been replaced by sterile white walls, the roar of fans replaced by the dull hum of fluorescent lights. And Evan, the one guy I swore I'd never let close, was suddenly assigned as my recovery partner. "Stop glaring like that," he muttered, his hands surprisingly gentle as he tightened the straps around my knee brace. "You'll make it worse." "I don't need your help," I snapped back, though my voice cracked with exhaustion more than anger. He looked up at me then, eyes a deep storm I couldn't quite read. There was no smirk this time, no victorious grin. Just something raw, something I hadn't expected to see. "You don't have a choice," he said quietly. For the first time in years, he wasn't talking about soccer. He was talking about me, about the broken body I was trapped in, about the reality that I couldn't stand on my own. Literally. It was humiliating, and yet, somehow, in the silence that followed, I felt a strange sense of safety. Like maybe he wasn't here to win anymore. The sessions started daily. Morning after morning, I dragged myself to the rehab center only to find him already there, waiting. Sometimes sweaty from his own practice, sometimes freshly showered, hair damp and falling into his eyes. Always patient in ways that made me furious because I didn't want to believe he could be kind. He held my leg when I practiced lifting it. He steadied me when I tried to take those first shaky steps. And when the pain got unbearable, he never mocked me, never rolled his eyes. Instead, he stood close enough that his presence was louder than my frustration. I told myself I hated it. I told myself I hated him. But then one afternoon, when the pain in my knee made me curse under my breath, he caught my arm before I could stumble. His grip was strong, grounding. "You're tougher than this," he whispered, not in a taunt, but in something dangerously close to encouragement. I froze, because for the first time, I realized how warm his hand felt against my skin. Something shifted inside me that day, subtle but undeniable. The rivalry between us had always been fire-angry, consuming, wild. But in the quiet halls of recovery, it was changing shape, becoming something softer, heavier, almost unbearable to acknowledge. I tried to distract myself with memories of how much I used to hate him, how his goals had stolen the spotlight from mine, how his smug confidence had made me grit my teeth. But the more time we spent together, the harder it became to match those memories with the person standing before me now. He wasn't just the rival who knocked me down. He was the one helping me get back up. And maybe, just maybe, I needed him more than I'd ever admit. One night, when the facility was nearly empty, I stayed late, pushing myself too hard on the treadmill. The ache in my knee grew sharp, threatening, but I refused to stop. I wanted to prove I could still be who I was before. "Turn it off." Evan's voice came suddenly, low and firm. I startled, nearly losing balance. "What are you even doing here? I knew you'd be stubborn enough to push past your limit," he said, stepping forward. He reached for the controls, but I slapped his hand away. "I don't need your pity." His jaw tightened. "It's not pity." His eyes locked on mine, burning. "It's because I care, damn it." The words hit me harder than any fall I'd ever taken on the field. For a moment, the room fell silent, just the sound of my ragged breathing and the distant whir of the machine. He stepped closer, close enough that I could see the veins in his neck, the way his chest rose and fell. You think I'd waste my time on someone I didn't give a damn about? I didn't know what to say. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Then, without warning, he reached out not to adjust my brace, not to steady my butt to touch my hand. Just a brush of his fingers, tentative yet electric. It was too much, too close, too real, and I couldn't pull away. The brush of his fingers on mine set off something inside me that I had spent years burying beneath layers of competition, anger, and pride. My chest tightened, not from pain this time, but from something far more dangerous. I pulled my hand back like I'd touched fire, but the heat lingered. "You don't get to say that," I muttered, staring at the ground. My voice sounded thin, defensive. "You hated me as much as I hated you." Evan shook his head slowly. "I never hated you. I envied you. There's a difference." I looked up sharply. His eyes didn't waver. "You were everything I wanted to be," he said. "Relentless, fearless. I pushed you hard because I didn't know how else to deal with it." For the first time, the walls I had built against him began to crack. All those years of tension, those insults on the field, the shoulder bumps and the unspoken war-sit wasn't hatred. It was something else entirely, twisted and disguised until now. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "You're still an arrogant ass." A crooked smile tugged at his lips. "Yeah, maybe, but I'm here. I'm not leaving you to fight this alone." And somehow, against all logic, I believed him. Weeks passed, and our sessions blurred into something more than routine. He teased me when I struggled, but his laughter was soft now, carrying no venom. He stayed late, spotting me as I worked, making sure I didn't collapse from pushing too far. One evening, after another grueling set of exercises, I collapsed onto the bench, sweat soaking my shirt. Evan tossed me a water bottle, then sat beside me, his knee brushing mine. "Remember when we nearly came to blows during practice last year?" he asked, smirking. I groaned. "Which time?" "The one where you accused me of hogging the ball." I snorted, unable to help myself. "Because you were hogging the ball." His grin faded into something softer, more vulnerable. "Funny how I used to want to beat you in everything. And now, all I want is to see you stand on your own 2 feet again." The sincerity in his voice left me breathless. I turned to him, and for the first time I didn't see my rival. I saw the man who had caught me every time I stumbled, who had carried pieces of my broken pride without complaint. My heart thudded painfully as I realized the truth I had been fighting. I wanted him beside Menet just in this recovery, but in whatever came after. The turning point came on a quiet Sunday morning. The gym was empty, sunlight streaming through the windows. I managed to walk the length of the rehab room without crutches for the first time. Each step burned, but when I reached the end and turned back, Evan was there, clapping softly, his smile brighter than the sun itself. "You did it," he said, pride ringing in his voice. I laughed, shaky but exhilarated. "Guess I did." And then, before I could second-guess myself, I walked limped, really straight into him. His arms went around me without hesitation, steady and warm. For a long moment, I let myself sink into the embrace. The rivalry, the years of bitterness, the pain of my injury, all of it faded until there was only this, him. When I finally pulled back, our faces were close. Too close. My breath caught. "Evan," I whispered, unsure, terrified, needing. He didn't give me time to overthink. His lips brushed mine, tentative at first, then firm, certain. The kiss was nothing like the battles we used to fight. It was surrender, pure and simple. And God, I surrendered. From that day, things changed, not overnight, not like some fairy tale, but gradually, with the quiet persistence of healing. My body grew stronger, my knees steadier. And through every step, Evan was there. Not as a rival, but as something infinitely more. We still argued, of course. Old habits die hard. But even our fights carried a different weight, now lighter, tempered by the knowledge that at the end of the day, we wanted the same thing, each other. The first time I returned to the field, I was terrified. The stands were empty, just the echo of cleats against grass. My leg trembled as I ran, but I made it across the pitch, lungs burning, heart pounding. When I stopped, gasping, Evan was already jogging toward me. "See," he said with a grin. "Told you you'd make it back." I smiled, a lump rising in my throat. "Not without you." His hand found mine, fingers lacing tight. The field that had once been a battleground now felt like something else entirely. A place of second chances, of beginnings instead of endings. Looking back, I still can't believe the twist of fate that forced us together in that rehab room. I thought I'd lost everything the day my knee gave out. But maybe, in some strange, unfair, miraculous way, I gained something greater. Because Evan wasn't just the rival I once despised. He was the reason I stood again. And the reason I never wanted to fall. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.